Can you hear
Alara,
me?
right? Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks.
Um, yeah, so let me see here. Yeah, so we have all the followers on, and I've we met through Podmatch, and so we're trying this new distribution segment in Instagram Live. Yeah, so t tell everybody about your story, your background, and we'll get into it.
Yay. My story, I mean, that's a really big question, but yeah, essentially, 2015, a spiritual awakening. I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. At the time that I had no idea what was happening, I was literally driving down the road and my higher self told me to Om 3 times. I knew what oming was, but it wasn't something I practiced, but I did it. I Ommed for 3 times. And at the end of the third one, an energy shot through my body, out my crown, and I went into full body orgasm. I had never had a full body orgasm. I had to pull the car over and wow, just like really be in the energy. And after the orgasm was over, I was in this total state of bliss, of ecstasy. And I had no idea what happened to me. And then the following 5 months was quite chaotic, as what had happened was the Kundalini had shot through my body, out my crown, and it had released the stored emotions, the emotions that I had pushed down, the trauma that I had pushed down in my body, and all of that came roaring out. So I had like 5 months of very chaotic space, emotions all over the place. One minute I would be crying, the next minute I would be screaming and raging, the next minute I would be ecstatic and in bliss. And so after those 5 months, a book landed in my lap that was called Kundalini Awakening, and I learned what had happened to me. But more importantly, what it really did was it gave me a contrast. It gave me a feeling of bliss and ecstasy in my body that I'd never experienced. And then, to my life that I was living. And it really showed me where I was rather numb. I was rather shut down. I wasn't connected to the bliss in my body. And it brought me, on this journey of what is bliss, what is our most ecstatic expression. So that's my story.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. And for the audience out there that just tuned in, Alara Sage, she's got a really interesting story, and we talked about it. So, what is the type of work that you do with clients now? How do you use that experience to help clients going more into it?
Yeah, absolutely. I usually work with women, and I'm helping women who they're usually leaders, they're visionaries, they're very, very creative beings. And the energy that shot through my body is Shakti. That's creative life force energy. It's an energy that we all have. And so really what I do is I help those creatives, those creators, those visionaries connect to that energy in their body and learn how to master it, master our creator consciousness, because I believe very strongly that we're creators and that we create our reality. So I assist my clients to embody their power, embody their genius, and learn how to work with that version of themselves into their physical reality.
Yeah, we'll get into more of the what are some of the results that you've seen with your clients?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of them have massive transformations in life. Most of them reach out to me because they're hitting some sort of resistance. Either that's boredom, that's feeling very alone, that's feeling like something just isn't jiving anymore. They don't feel alive, maybe, or they're disconnected from their passion. And so through working with me, they really step back into that aliveness of life. And they really create this aliveness, this radiance into their life. So their business can really flourish because of that, and their relationships, their relationship to everything absolutely flourishes because they're really in that energy, bliss, and creative life force power. So it really transforms their what they're creating, so their business or their career and their relationships.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated by this entire energetic spirituality. And there's a lot of applications you can use it for your health, your personal development, your business, your relationships. It's quite interesting, these concepts, Reiki as well. And one thing, for the audience that just joined, this is Alara Sage, and she's activating women in their power, magnetism, and creative genius. And I love talking to people doing things outside of the box to get insights, and then you can apply it to different areas. She's had a spontaneous waking, and she shows us the truths about power, personal potential, and stepping outside the box, being authentic, engaging. And a lot of people are, especially after 2020, have awoken to this self-awareness, this power, personal potential. And so she's also a podcast host, The Ecstatic Women. So one thing that is talking about is flowing with life and not against it, from force to power. How do you tap into that?
Absolutely. Our society has been taught to work in force. And that can look a lot of times just literally not listening to our intuition. We have been taught not to listen to our intuition. We've been taught logic. And there's a place for logic. Logic, intuition, and intuition actually work really well together when we understand them. But if we're only thinking through logic, or we're only thinking, okay, in order to succeed, I have to work really hard, or I have to drive, or I have to grind, right? We have belief structures about grinding, about working really hard. And what we're usually doing when we're in those belief structures is we're forcing. We're in an energy of force. You can imagine yourself like walking against the river, because there is a natural flow to abundance. There's a natural flow to our creative genius. And when we're not listening to our intuition, we're going against that water. And yeah, you can succeed. You can absolutely succeed in the energy of force. However, what oftentimes you experience is exhaustion, overwhelm, burnout. You have to take vacation, right? Because like your life is so draining. When we move with flow, our life is deeply nourishing and nurturing to us. Just even like, for instance, I just launched a podcast. It took a lot of work, but all of it was in the energy of flow. I never burned out. I never got tired. I never was like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, or this is too much. All of it felt very, very powerful and nurturing to myself. So when we learn that there is an energy that naturally desires to move through our bodies and into our physical reality, we learn how to open up to that and allow it. It is so powerful, and we are powerful, powerful beings. There's really no limit to what we can create. But if we shut that down and we create force, then yes, it's struggle, it's strife, it's life sucks, right? Or I have to go take a vacation because I wore myself into the ground.
Yeah. And how does somebody that's obviously someone such as you kind of learn the flow and kind of notice the signals and the patterns to get into this flow, but somebody that's kind of still struggling or trying to find their groove, find their niche, what are some things that they should pay attention to tap into this law of attraction, to this energy, get into the flow of things?
Absolutely. One of the best things is what feels good to your body and what doesn't. Not what you think you need to be doing, what actually feels good. And first, just noticing that, because usually what happens is it's kind of surprising when we really feel into what feels good to me right now. Oh, rest, right? Like go rest, or go have a walk outside, and we're like, no. I have all this work I got to do. So first, noticing what feels good in that moment, and noticing where you're actually putting yourself, and noticing, is it different, right? Because most likely it's going to be different. But first, that awareness is so powerful, because you'll start to see a pattern. You'll start to see how many times you're saying to yourself, wow, I'm really hungry. I could use something to eat. I need a break. no, I have to get this done. I need to just plow through this. I just need to push through, right? So that simple awareness of noticing how many times and how often you do that will give you start a measurement of how much you're in flow and how much you're in force. And then you can start choosing the times when it seems more available. Like, okay, I really feel like I could just take a break. All right, but my mind is telling me I have work to do. Well, okay, that work isn't super important. So let me go take the break, right? And you start to make those choices that start honoring yourself and your being. Because what happens is that when you go take that break, you come back with so much more presence, so much more focus, so much more availability to the task.
Yeah. And the next question is, obviously, finding yourself and talking to a lot of entrepreneurs. They were in the corporate world and they just very draining, but this it's kind of like they were trapped by their incomes and their status. But once you get out of that, you still have to make a living and pay the bills. So how do you, once you get into that flow, how do you, you get this energy abundance? How do you translate that energy and abundance into financial abundance for yourself, your family, humanity, society?
Absolutely. So energy, creative life force energy is always translated into the physical through action. Action actualizes the energy of abundance, the energy of prosperity, the energy of wealth. But it is about taking aligned actions, right? Actions that are in the flow rather than against the flow. So what happens is you get to take less action that's much more potent and powerful. But yes, it's action.
Yeah. And how does intention and manifest visualization, creative visualization, how do these play into your way of manifesting your reality?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Intention is absolutely everything, and we can have two intentions going on. We can have conscious intentions, like I want to have a successful business. And then our subconscious mind could be having a different intention. I need to keep myself safe, and I do that by staying small. So just having an intention, sometimes we need to have the clarity of, does that really fully light me up? And, is there clarity within that intention? But absolutely, every single day I wake up with intention. Everything I do has very specific and potent intention behind it. As far as visualization, our third eye is one of our three creator centers. So we have our sacral chakra, which is below our belly, our heart, and our third eye. These are the three creator centers. These are the three centers in our body that help to bring that energy that I'm speaking to, that creative life force energy, into the physical reality. So our imagination is everything. You can think of it like a projector. When you imagine, you're projecting that vibration into your space. So when you're really in a state of imagination, you're calling in all of the senses. You're really experiencing the imagination very vividly and surreal. And when you do that, your body actually activates chemically as if that imagination was reality, right? Because our brains don't know the difference between imagination and reality. So imagination is a really great place to play in, because then your body actually lights up energetically in correspondence to that imagination. And then, of course, it's about knowing through your intuition what action to take to actualize that imagination into the physical reality.
I love that. Kind of like a creative playground.
Exactly what it is.
One thing that I've noticed while growing my business is, this idea. So, this year my business has expanded, but then there's always this, you have a success, big client or whatever, but then the next thing that happens is your brain goes, oh, what if you lose that? And then you start to play smaller. You start to think like more defensively. How can entrepreneurs battle that, and how can they, it sounds like it's what it is. It's self-sabotage. So how can people combat that or mitigate that, address that?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very good awareness. And the first thing is always the first thing is always awareness, right? When you can say, okay, I see how I am doing this in order to keep myself small so I don't lose it, so I don't, whatever the belief structure is. Awareness is always the first step. Awareness is very, very powerful. It's literally the willingness to see that which you're creating with your subconscious mind. And self-sabotage is a really common pattern that we do in order, to stop ourselves from succeeding, to protect ourselves. So first and foremost, the willingness to see the patterns and the ways in which you self-sabotage. And one of the best things I like to do is just throw out a question. Say, I don't know, how do I self-sabotage? And be in a state of curiosity. Because I promise you, if you really, from your heart, throw that question out there, the universe will show you. All of a sudden, you'll see your patterns of self-sabotage if you have your eyes open, if you're looking for them. And then it's about, again, first and foremost, awareness. Second, loving and accepting the fact that you've been doing it. So acceptance is always an important part, because if we say, why do I do that? I don't want to do that anymore. It's so ridiculous. I'm so tired of it. And we shame and guilt ourselves. We're creating a loop of self-hate that will further feed the self-sabotage. So it's really important that when you're able to see the self-sabotage, that you take a breath and go, okay, that has been keeping me safe. That has been keeping me safe, right? Come at it with acceptance of self. And then the third step is to take action that is opposite of that self-sabotage, right? So if you all of a sudden start taking business decisions that are making yourself small, then you have to feel into, all right, what is an action step that I can take right now that's going to help to reprogram myself outside of that self-sabotage that's available to me right now?
I love that. I like that idea of taking the action opposite that of, and it's kind of like when you take a leap of faith and you just go for it, and you have no safety net, and it's kind of like, so that when that fear tries to keep you back, you go forward and kind of take that karmic energy or whatever and kind of transform it. It's really, really powerful.
It doesn't have to be like a really big step. Sometimes it can just be a tiny step, but it's that action, because again, action actualizes, right? So if you're wanting to go a different direction than the self-sabotage, you can just even take a tiny step, and then a tiny step, and then a tiny step in the other direction.
So one thing is talking about is finding, for entrepreneurs, finding their creative genius. What is it? How can people find it? How did they tap into it? And you talk about this idea of magnetism, and where does our magnetism come from? Describe and expand upon that even more.
Yeah, so those are kind of two different questions, but they go. So our creative genius, each one of us is absolutely 100% unique, and that's what makes us us, right? And so when we really understand who that is, and we're willing to see that, and for instance, I have a process with my clients to learn that. Another thing that I really love is what's called the gene keys, Gene keys. The gene keys is like a blueprint of you and the time you were born. And it really gives you this insight into your gifts and your genius. And so each one of us has an absolute unique genius, and it's really what we're here to create in the world. We're here to create ourselves through that genius. And so it's about authenticity, it's about self-awareness and self-realization, and really allowing our gifts to come through. So that's the creative genius. And as I've said, the creative life force energy flows through us. So a creative genius is a person who understands how to create their reality very powerfully and masterfully. So again, that's working with the flow of energy, working with your body, working with what's showing up in the moment to move with the flow instead of against the flow. Now, when we are in our power, we are embodied, right? We are in the present moment, because the present moment is where all of our power is. When we're willing to be fully present in our body, then what happens is we increase our creative life force energy. And as all entrepreneurs know, our businesses are our passion, right? And passion is fire energy. And when we're really allowing that passion and we are present to our bodies, what that creates is magnet. So magnet is really clear on what are you passionate about, what is your passion within your business, and continuously moving forward through that, because that's the light, that's the radiance, that's the aliveness, and we are naturally drawn to those who radiate, those who are alive. And as well as when we are in that energy, again, it is the creative life force energy, literally the energy of creation. It magnetizes opportunities. It magnetizes connection and people and circumstances that are going to fuel our passion and our creative genius.
That's so well said. And the more I spend time listening to you, the more I feel like society in our mainstream is so disconnected, and I feel like it's almost like a propaganda machine designed to make you consume more and just feed this consumerism cycle. What is embodied success? You talk about this, and you also talk about Shakti. What is that?
Yeah, so Shakti is the energy that shot through my body and gave me the full body orgasm. It's Kundalini Shakti. It's the creative life force energy that everybody has in them. And embodied success is really what we're talking about here today. Okay, embodied success is the ability to be fully present in the now, the ability to have a regulated nervous system. The vast majority of humans are dysregulated in their nervous system. So what does that mean? That means, for one, we can't handle stress. That means we're either in a fight or flight response, or we're in a shutdown and frozen response most of the time. Our ability to feel and to intuit gets shut down, closed down in both of those circumstances. So when we have a regulated nervous system, our ability to intuit situations radically increases. Okay, you feel much more of what is really occurring in this rather than what your mind or the propaganda, like you said, is telling you. So first and foremost, it's having a regulated nervous system. And then, of course, as I've said before, it's about being present in the now, and then being crystal clear about your intentions, crystal clear on why are you an entrepreneur? What is that passion? All right. And then being fully present with all of your actions so that, again, you are making aligned decisions. These are very potent and powerful decisions. And this equates to success. And this kind of energy, success is. And it's not something that can be taken from you because it's not externalized. That success is here in your body and in your being. It is the energy of wealth and prosperity.
Yeah. And, for all the listeners out there, we're going to repost this across YouTube and Instagram. And Alara, is a coach, and she's a leader, but she teaches people how to embody using their natural gifts, using the energy and alignment towards full expression. We talked about embodied success, which is the main point of this live, but talk about being a leader of the future using, awaken the genius within your magnetism and embodied success.
Yeah. So I just really want to speak to the entrepreneurs, right? Because the entrepreneurs, we're leaders, we're visionaries, we're trailblazers, right? We're the ones out there creating new. And it's so important for all of us to be really tuned in to ourselves, because again, we are the ones that are creating the future. In entrepreneurship, we can feel, and in leadership, we can feel really alone. Right? We can feel alone. We can feel misunderstood. We can feel not understood at all in who we are and what we're bringing to the table. And it's really important that, visionaries and leaders, connect into, again, themselves, the embodiment, because when you're connected, aloneness, being alone, feeling alone becomes a superpower. Right? When you're connected into your intuition, you learn about and fluidly flow through financial issues in the market, because our intuition, our guidance is always there to show us where abundance already is, right? Already is and always is. And so being a leader of the future is about embodiment. Leaders of the future, it's changing. Leadership is changing radically. Our old way of leading is dying. And so if you're still leading in the same energy of forcing, pushing your reality, it's only going to get harder and more challenging. The new leadership is about embodiment. The new leadership is about self-awareness, so that we have awareness of others, awareness of those that we are leading. And the new leadership is about shining really, really brightly to inspire others to shine really brightly. The new leadership is about lifting everybody up so that we all rise.
Yeah, and you help, especially female, but female executives, entrepreneurs, tap into this potential, into this personal power, increase their radiance and capacity. How can people contact you? I know you're on Instagram. For all the listeners out there, be sure to follow Alara on her Instagram. She's also on LinkedIn. How can people contact you, follow you, reach out to you, check out your work, etc.?
Absolutely. Alara Sage. So here on Instagram, Alara Sage, LinkedIn, Alara Sage, Facebook, Alara Sage. My website is Alara Sage.
And for all the audience out there, let's thank Alara for coming on. It was a fantastic half hour. This live will be reposted. Thanks everybody for joining in. Be sure to follow Alara. And with that, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate you.